Hey, what's up? Today we are talking about how to remove collections, and this is medical collections, utility, insurance, apartment, whatever. If you have a collection, as long as it is a third-party collection and not a debt buyer with like Portfolio Recovery or Midland or whatever, then you can try this to remove them. And you may have seen this in some of my other videos, but people are still doing this the wrong way, and so therefore that is why we are doing this today. Okay, so if you look at the board, on the left-hand side we have collection process, and on the right side we have the credit bureau process. Now the difference between the two of these, and you must dispute both ways, okay? The difference between the two of these is very, very simple. The collectors, you're disputing directly with them using the validation of debt method, right? We're sending in 4 different letters, and with the bureaus, we're also sending in a couple different letters, but we're not using the same ones. You see, over here, there's very, very specific ones that we want to send. And with the bureaus, we're writing factual as well as placing the burden of proof directly on them, right? Now, if you just go check and look up Cushman versus TransUnion from 1997, you're going to see something very, 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 very important. It says that the bureaus can't just push the burden of proof off on you or the collector. They actually have to go beyond the original source of information, the data furnisher, the collector, to ensure the accuracy of the dispute, right? Of your actual information. So in other words, when it comes back and it says verified as accurate and you say, no, that's not correct, they have to actually reinvestigate, okay? So let's take a look at this. So your very first dispute is going to be very, very simple. And I do have 4 letters, there's actually 8, 4 here and 4 here. You can access them down in the description, as well as a bunch of other resources, but specifically talking about the validation of debt, right? So letter 1 is a validation of debt request, right? I need for you to validate this debt. And let me just make a point here. If you check out this video, you're going to see is actually my very first video that just took off. I let you know, hey, you need to be careful with this process because there's very specific, like I mentioned, people that you do not want to dispute with. And there's very specific circumstances. If it's within the statute of limitations, you need to be careful. Now, before you get your panties all in a bunch, if you don't listen to me, you can be putting yourself in legal jeopardy. And I don't want that I do not want that to happen to you, obviously, right? I don't want anything to happen to you. I want for you to get your deletions. I want for you to move on with your life. And I want for you to not have to watch videos like this ever again. So please listen to me. Heed my warning. Do not, if it's within the statute of limitations, do not dispute directly with a debt buyer. This is only for a third party company, okay? This is where the debt was assigned to them. Like, again, medical, car insurance, utility, outside of Verizon, because that one actually reports the charge off. So those are different instructions. Okay. So anyways, validation of debt is letter 1. Okay. Now they're either going to do one or of 2 things. They're either going to respond and say, oh, well, no, it's validated. So, end of story. Or they're going to ignore you, right? So we have 2 different letters. We have letter 2A where they respond, but they don't send any proof, and letter 2B where they do not respond. So we have 2 different ones. And then you're actually going to send out letter 3. Now, here's the beauty of this method. And you've heard me say this before, but we're actually not even really caring about any sort of proof or documentation because they're not going to have it until the discovery process where they, furnish documentation and all of that of a lawsuit, okay? Obviously, you don't want to push them there, but they're not going to have it until then where they actually have to go and obtain and retrieve this documentation from the original creditor, meaning like the hospital or the company. So what we're looking for is the notice of dispute. Now, that's the magic behind the whole validation of debt process, right? And the same thing with the bureaus. So we're going to do in letter 3 where it says key, we're actually going to send a different type of letter where it says, well, hey, regardless of whether you did or didn't send any proof, you didn't put the required notice of dispute within 30 days as required under the FDCPA. And because they didn't, I think it's 607B. I used to say it incorrectly, so I will find the correct one and I'll post it down in the description. So, don't etch that in stone here, but it is a rule, a law, a federal law, and the FDCPA that says that the same as the bureaus were FCRA 623, they have to put the required notice of dispute. When they do not, now they're in violation, okay? So that is the entire key to doing this. And letter 4 is if they don't remove it, now, hey, you can sue them, right? And you send that with your complaint, okay? Now, with the bureaus, as I mentioned, this is a different type of process, right? We're not sending them some, already written, sent in before template, okay? With the bureaus, the very first letter that we're sending out is, hey, this is unknown. I have no idea what this is, but I know you're not going to be able to verify it. This is an unverified, unknown account, and you need to remove this. You could say for inability to verify, or just delete this unverified or unknown account, okay? So letter 2 is a little bit different. So letter 2, because they're not going to respond more than likely, especially right now, you're going to say, well, either the collector did not respond to me, so that's, what is it called? Estoppel by silence. They're basically agreeing with you that you're right because they didn't respond. You're not going to use those terms there, but I'm just explaining this to you. But the collector didn't respond to me, so obviously that means that they don't have any proof, right? And furthermore, you don't have any proof. So if they didn't respond to me, I know they didn't respond to you. So where is your proof? This is an unverified, unverifiable account. Delete immediately, right? So letter 3, again, the key over here with the collectors is the same. It is the notice of dispute. Now, here's the deal. Here's something very, very important that you need to know. On this round, this is the notice of dispute. Section 623 requires that the notice of dispute is entered within 30 days. Now, there's something really important that you need to do. You need to first dispute with the collector and then with the bureaus. And here's the reason why. The bureaus are like 8 times more likely to enter that notice of dispute. And because they enter it, now you're just SOL with this whole process and the key behind it, right? If this is the purpose to it, we don't want to give them any sort of leverage. So what you can do is letter 1, round 1 is going to the collector. Wait 30 days and now send out letter 1 to the bureaus. This way, you're not putting all of these, whatever, you're not giving them that leverage that they could possibly have by entering the notice of dispute, okay? So now we're saying you didn't enter the notice of dispute, they didn't enter the notice of dispute, you're both in violation, delete immediately, okay? If that doesn't work, obviously you can go after the violation, you can go to the CFPB, the AG, the BBB, all of that, which we're going to do anyways if they do not remove it. But this is actually where you're going to start the factual process because, hello, that's what I do. I am the queen of factual disputes, right? And if you have been with me since 2017, July 15th or 5th of 2015, when I first started writing, factual disputes and doing my YouTube videos, then you are also a factual disputer, right? And at least you want to be if you are watching these videos and you want to get results, right? So anywho, we are now on to factual based disputes, and you would continue with that process until it's removed. And then, as I mentioned, you would go down and start your CFPB complaints, your AG complaints, your BBB complaints, all of that kind of stuff. Now, if you're wondering how to use this with all of this, it's actually really, really simple. The bureaus don't care if you submit complaints, but these smaller companies might, right? Especially when they're in violation, okay? So with your disputes, you can make complaints, send a copy of the complaint with your dispute letter, and it's going to help you to get a little bit further because now you're going to have proof of violation, proof of inaccuracy, proof that they didn't respond, proof that they're, falsely reporting this information. And that, my friend, is how you are going to remove your collections, all right? So if you have questions about how to remove collections using the validation of debt process, post it down in the comments, smash the like, share this with someone else because a bunch of people want to know how to use this method and they're not using it correctly, or else I wouldn't have had to actually make this video. But that's it for today. And just a side note, the Georgia experiment project is now complete. So if you live in Georgia or you know someone who lives in Georgia that has problems with their credit, then you're definitely going to want to check out this project, okay? I am dropping this video sometime this week. I do have a notification list. The link is down in the description. But if you didn't know, credit repair is illegal in Georgia, except for specific ways to do it. So if you don't want to be scammed, and if you don't want to be taken for a ride for a bunch of years by an attorney or a nonprofit, and you want to learn how to do this yourself because you didn't know that credit repair was illegal in Georgia, Check out the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so that you know when this project drops, because this is going to blow your mind. All right, so otherwise, if you're just curious about it, you don't have to live in Georgia to be curious, but if you're curious about it, then you don't have to use a notification list, but make sure that you're subscribed and, obviously get notifications so that you know when this posts. All right, so that is it for today. I am super excited about the videos coming out this week for you, and you should be too. So I'm going to get going. I have a couple more phone calls and some client files to do, and that is it for today.